into Acts and chapter 9. We'll be looking there in just a moment. Tim said something a while back. I don't remember the context or even the situation, but it has stuck with me, and I think about it quite often. He said, so much about living a life in Christ is about answering the question, what are you going to do now? The more I think about it, the more situations where this comes into play, and where I find myself asking, that very question. When you find yourself just pressed on all sides by life, things are difficult, overwhelming, you become desperate. What are you going to do now? When you learn of a brother or sister who is in need of help or maybe a visit and, you're just tired. And after all, it's a really long drive to go over there. How well are you going to answer that question? What are you going to do now? Maybe you've had harsh words with someone you know, and you realize that to go up to them is going to be so uncomfortable. So, what are you going to do now? Maybe you're caught up in a sin and you reason with yourself that no one's going to know about it. It's not going to harm anyone. And after all, it's not one of the big sins. But what are you going to do now? You know that it would be good if you could just maybe get up a little bit earlier in the morning or stay up a little bit later at night and really devote some time to come to God in prayer, spend some time with Him and to spend some time in His Word, but right now I'm really sleepy. What are you going to do now? And the list goes on. Look at an example of when this question was answered right. Ananias in Acts chapter 9, beginning in verse 10. We'll just read a few verses here. Now there was a disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And the Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias? And he said, Here am I, Lord. And the Lord said to him, Rise and go to the street called Straight, and at the house of Judas look for a man of Tarsus named Saul, for behold, he is praying. And he has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and lay his hands on him, so that he might regain his sight. But Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard from many about this man, how much evil he has done to your saints at Jerusalem, and here he is and has authority from the chief priest to bind on all who call on your name. But the Lord said to him, Go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine to carry my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how much he must suffer for the sake of my name. So Ananias departed and entered the house. Jesus here confirms what Ananias had already feared. Not only was Saul actually coming to Damascus, he was already there, and he had been for 3 days. And further than that, he says, and I'm sending you to him. Whatever preparations Ananias had made for Saul's coming in anticipation, he would not have ever included a visit to the house where Paul was staying. But Jesus patiently shares his plans with Ananias. And keep in mind, Ananias is taking all this in a moment. The critical time to make that decision, to answer the question, Ananias, what are you going to do now, is there. And it's happening then. And there's not a lot of time to think about it. But Ananias makes the right decision. And he says, and he does, go and do what Jesus had asked him. You see, I think Ananias had already answered this question in his heart long before this critical moment came. He had decided that no matter the situation, that he would serve and obey the Lord who had loved him and died for him. And isn't this when we should answer this question? In different scenarios, in different situations, is to answer it before that critical moment arrives. I think we struggle with the critical moment because we wait until that critical moment to answer that question. And then our answers are not always going to be what they should be. It takes some time and it takes some thought, but it is well worth the effort. And I commend this to you and just the benefit and the help that it can be in your lives. To think about and commit that no matter what is asked, you will reply as Ananias did, "Here I am." And most of what we've said this evening has been directed to Christians, but there's a critical moment coming for all, especially for those who have not given themselves to the Lord. Before that critical moment comes, decide now. How are you going to answer that question? What are you going to do now? And if you've considered it and you want to act on that now, please come while we stand and sing.